continuously since about for 1.5 years. He was working for the benefit of Thane and all of the region in Mumbai. Next, I would like to introduce Dr. Rajarathan Sadavarte. Sir is consultant chest physician and bronchoscopist of allergy and allergy specialist. Sir is attached to Kohinoor Hospital, Guru Nanak Hospital, and Raheja Hospital. He has served as consultant and pulmonologist for BKC and UNESCO COVID centers, big COVID centers. Under his guidance, 10,000 COVID patients were managed. The figure is much more, but this is what we got from the authorities. Next, our Dr. Vedas Nimkar, consultant physician. Actually, many of you know him, no need to introduce, but I would like to introduce him because he's a renowned expert, a great speaker for COVID vaccine, conducted 25 COVID master classes for all the doctors. Sir is convener of COVID Expert Conclave 2021, first physician to conduct COVID awareness program for general public in March 2020. So also, he was a speaker for national and regional TV channels and introduced all of about COVID vaccines. So we'll go for question answer session. First question to Dr. Nimkar sir. Why is Omicron different from other variants that are reported so far? So with this large number of accumulated mutation, does it mean that Omicron is more efficient in transmission? First question, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, yes.
Dr. Nimkar, sir, why is Omicron different from other variants that are reported so far?
Why really Omicron is different from other variants? Well, what sets it apart from the variants reported before, like alpha, beta, gamma, etc., is that the mutation profile it has. It's a natural course of evolution for any virus to undergo mutations. Every time the virus multiplies into its host, that's humans in this case, body, there will be some mutations. Most of the mutations will be missense mutations. They don't mean anything. However, there'll be certain mutations which provide some benefit to the virus. So those mutations carry on. So this particular variant Omicron, it carries totally around 60 mutations, out of which 32 mutations are in the spike protein region, which is very important for its interaction towards the host. Practically, it has mutations in all the proteins. That's about 3 mutations in membrane protein, 4 mutations in nucleocapsid. But these 32 mutations in the spike change the structure of the spike protein to a great extent, and thereby we suspect that this particular variant may escape the immunity provided by the previous natural infection with other variants or vaccines. So that's how it is different. And mind you, there are also 3 mutations in the so-called furin cleavage site on the receptor binding domain, or the portion of the virus that attaches to the ACE2 receptor. And most of these mutations which have been accumulated in this particular virus are known to increase the transmissibility of the virus. So therefore, it is significant. And the second part of what you've asked is, with this large number of accumulated mutations, does it really mean that Omicron is more efficient in transmission? Well, the final word on that is not yet out. We expect the final data in few weeks' time. But whatever preliminary data that we do have, especially coming in from South Africa, where this variant was first identified, it certainly is hinting at this possibility that this virus is much more transmissible even than the Delta virus or the Delta variant. If I have to put the numbers there, the Gauteng province or Johannesburg in South Africa, where this virus was first noticed, just before this virus was identified, the R0 number or the reproduction rate, the rate at which one infected case can transmit to others, was around 1 or 1 point, between 1 and 1.4. And just after the emergence of Omicron, in 2 weeks' time, the R0 increased from that to more than 2, which is a very big number and very significant. Also, there was doubling in the case numbers in just 2 weeks. So that clearly indicates that this virus seems to be more transmissible. There is one new study which has come in from University of Kyoto in Japan by Nishiura et al. They have preliminarily estimated that this virus, Omicron variant, is transmissible by at least 4.2 times more than Delta. And WHO has also accepted that Omicron variant poses the increased threat of reinfection, and it seems to be more transmissible. If we have to talk in our context, in Indian context, the primary indicators are not so good, though it's too premature to talk about India right now, because as of now, we have hardly some high 30s officially reported Omicron cases in India. But if we see, the slowly R0 is also increasing. In our state, in Maharashtra, the R0 is 0.97 currently as of yesterday. The city from where I belong, Thane, it has one of the highest R0s in India. It's 1.19, much more than the national average. The city of Mumbai has 1.1 R0, and city of Pune has around 1.13. So the preliminary indicators say that R0 increasing means the community transmission is increasing. So let us keep our fingers crossed, and let us hope that the transmissibility profile, though we know it's more than Delta, we do not have an explosive situation. Dr. Sancheti, sir?
Yeah. Actually, I think you have covered the second point also. Still, I'll like to elaborate on that. So with these large numbers, as you said, about 540 cases have been reported so far. We don't know how much it will transmit. But about accumulation, mutation, and other things, does it mean that Omicron is more efficient in transmission? Will it be transmitted very fast? As you said, it is 1 to 2%. We say it should be -2 or something, or -1. But it is going beyond 2+, as you say.
It does appear to be more transmissible. It does appear to be much more transmissible than Delta.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Achha. The question is to Dr. Pingulkar, sir. If Omicron is appearing to be more transmissible, does it mean it is more virulent? What is clinical picture so far?
Okay. Actually speaking, in India, we don't have much experience about it. But whatever we hear from South Africa, the consultants and doctors who are treating day to day there, almost dozens of cases a day, everyone is treating there. But whatever we read in newspapers and WhatsApp, it has been conducted from their side that it is not at all serious disease reported as of now. They don't require to admit any case. In fact, hardly any less than 1% they are admitting. Only problem in India we might face afterwards is if the transmissibility, as Dr. Vedas said, is much more, and there is a lot of infection in the community, then even that 1% might overwhelm our system because we might not have those availability of beds. Maybe it is available in Thane and Mumbai, but all over Maharashtra, when there is a scarcity of hospitals as well as COVID beds, then there will be an issue of having the treatment part of whatever it is. Having said that, even now, even today, in South Africa, they say it is very less serious, very mild disease they are reporting. Even the admissions are not 5 to 7 days. They are hardly admitting it for 3 days and discharging the patients. So basically, the problem is not with the severity of the disease, but with the number of cases that might come, that we are anticipating, and we have to prepare for, if at all there is a wave of Omicron, then the admissions might go high, and that time we might require beds. That availability, I think government and all the administrative part, they are looking after currently.
Thank you, sir. You say in UK there are more than 5,000 cases, and possibly they might put a lockdown again. A lot of things are there. So is it that this, as you say, if it is not that severe, but what will be the picture? We have to be prepared for the things. I mean, authorities are gearing up for that. And what about our doctors, consultants?
There are two issues. One thing is, as we are progressing towards this third wave, in the first wave, we did not have any clue what this disease is, what treatment we are going to follow. Whatever used to come up in the newspapers or WhatsApp, we used to give it, right from chloroquine to arsenic and everything we tried. But today the picture is different. Most of the healthcare workers are vaccinated. They are having some immunity or the other, which is a better part. Second thing, there is monoclonal antibodies available, which is definitely giving good immunity, external immunity, you might say, you are providing to the patient when provided in time. That is, they say it is to be provided within first 6 days, first 6 days of the infection, and maximum up to 10th day. So whatever we are providing from outside, it is really giving good results. Most of the patients are getting benefits of that monoclonal antibodies. From the next day, they receive that antibody treatment. And this is the biggest advantage right now, that nobody is worried as such to practice in their clinics. In the first wave, we were having a problem that most of the clinics were shut down for first 7 days. Then slowly they started opening. And that was the chaos at that time. Today, we are just, look, every clinic is open, but we are slightly scared about the variant, to what extent it might affect the doctors itself or the healthcare staff. And that, I believe, this recent treatment with monoclonal antibodies, as well as a few oral drugs are coming up that Dr. Vedas might elaborate later on. Those treatments are most probably, they are also going to be effective against this Omicron variant. If not 100%, at least 70%, 60%, they will be effective. And that will be much more reassuring for all the healthcare workers, I believe.
Thank you, sir, for sharing this very good information of monoclonal antibodies. Next question. Dr. Nimkar, sir, there are reports that Omicron has S gene deletion and can be easily diagnosed on just PCR test. Can you please elaborate on this?
Yeah, I would like to request Deepanji to please put on that one slide picture that we have. Deepanji? I think there's some technical issue. Okay, I'll show that picture later on. What really we have to look at over here is that when we do a RT-PCR test to diagnose COVID infection, we basically look at 3 genes minimum, that is open reading frame ORF1AB and S gene and N gene. As per the preliminary reports that have come in from WHO update, which was released on in the last week of November, it does appear that due to the mutations in the spike region, in the spike S gene of this Omicron, on the regular PCRs, yes, there is deletion of this S gene, so-called S gene dropout phenomenon, whereby rest of the 2 genes, ORF and N, are detected, and therefore the sample is reported as COVID positive. However, this S gene is not expressed and it is not detected. So it was thought and advised by WHO that till the complete genomic sequencing data is available, which takes some time. Yeah, that figure is there. That takes a while. It takes time of about 4 or 5 days. So can we quickly and easily diagnose Omicron in shortest possible time? So thereby this workaround was found. So far, yes, this was holding true, but as in just last couple of days some new data has come in. The media has labeled a new sub variant of Omicron, which has been reported from UK. It has been reported from the researchers of University College of London Institute of Genetics. This variant, the media has labeled it so-called stealth variant. It's a nickname they have given. The scientific name is
Excuse me,
B11529, which
Dr.
is
Vedas,
Omicron,
please
and
speak
BA.2
loudly.
subvariant. This particular stealth variant does not have this S gene dropout. So, and as per the
Dr. Vedas, sorry to interrupt you. Can you please be some louder?
Yeah, so as per this University College of London Genetics Institute, this so-called stealth variant or BA.2 subvariant of Omicron, which does not have the S gene dropout phenomenon, it is already circulating in large numbers in UK. And as per the latest data, around 6% of Omicron samples in UK are of this stealth variant. So this S gene dropout phenomenon, or so-called quick clinical diagnosis of Omicron without going through the laborious process of genomic sequencing, may not hold true in future if this particular subvariant takes over. But as of now, yes. And also, mind you, we had alpha variant before, which is not in circulation in large numbers anymore. But this alpha variant also does have this S gene dropout. So really, S gene dropout on your PCR is not 100% diagnostic of Omicron. But if it is found, it may hint or point towards that, and further genomic analysis should be awaited.
Okay, sir. Should we move for next? Next question is for Dr. Pingulkar, sir. As we know, Omicron is more transmissible. What community measures do we follow to prevent the transmission? Sir, can you hear me?
Pingulkar sir, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. The most question.
As we know, Omicron is more transmissible. What community measures do we follow to prevent transmission?
The most important thing today is community transmission, avoiding community transmission. And what the government has given the guidelines today is for the international travelers. All of those who are coming inside India, they are first screened by RT-PCR at the airport level. Those who are found positive, they are being segregated or quarantined in some institutional quarantine. Those who are not having positive reports, they are being asked to quarantine themselves in their own houses. Those home quarantine patients are again examined on the 7th day with RT-PCR by government, or they may opt for a private RT-PCR, but 7th day testing is compulsory for them. Even after 7th day, we are advising them to remain in home quarantine for further 7 days. That is total 14 days of quarantine for everyone who is coming inside India from anywhere in abroad. All those who are coming positive on the 7th day, they are being institutional quarantine as per government guidelines today. These are slightly different guidelines than the Delta guidelines. In Delta, we were just keeping them home quarantine if no other treatment was required. But here, in view of this Omicron emergence, government has said the institutional quarantine is important. So they are being institutionally quarantined. Their relatives are being examined with RT-PCR if they come positive. Even those relatives might be institutionally quarantined. That is what is being told to us from the government side. Only thing is, we are worried if at all these numbers go on increasing, this institutional quarantine measures, the system might get overwhelmed. Even in the first wave, we were not having enough quarantine facilities. In India, it is a very meager figure. In India, the best was in Mumbai, second best was in Thane, the quarantine centers. Number of beds. The number of beds are not available all over the India. So that might be a problem for us if at all this quarantine thing goes on increasing. I believe in next, if at all this figure increases, again they will go to home quarantine only afterwards, because there is no other option in India. Basically, in whichever COVID patient we have seen from the first wave, the only thing which has helped 100% is the masking, the social distancing, and sanitization. These three things are the topmost in preventing COVID. Second best is vaccination. The best thing what we can do for the general public, they should wear double masks. One should be a surgical mask and the second may be a cotton mask. All healthcare workers, they must use N95. There is no other alternative to it. I think even today, most of the healthcare workers and many doctors also, they have dropped their guards and they are not using masks 100% as they were using in first or second wave. Today, everyone is believing they are protected because of the vaccination and they are not getting disease. But I believe everyone should, in fact, increase their guard in view of this Omicron virus, as well as the last part of this pandemic. We might say this might last for 3.5 years total. 2 years are almost over by now. So one more year you have to just uphold all your guards, all your measures, PPE kits. Most of the hospitals, I believe, they are not using nowadays. They should use, even in spite of their vaccination. I don't believe anybody has got booster vaccination in India, officially at least. So, and that thing, third booster dose might come in future, coming 3-4 months, as government might decide. But government is yet to decide, because even the first dose, few of the people in population, they have not received the first dose. In this condition, how can we expect to receive a third dose for ourselves? That is what is the argument going on at the government level. So they are more worried about covering the population first, and then they will cover the booster. They will start giving the booster. That is what is a current status. But many of the organizations like IMA itself, they are demanding for the booster dose for healthcare workers, and that also is in consideration. Most probably, they might start booster dose soon. I mean, I've heard somewhere that they have decided, or it has been pleaded in some meeting, that after the 9th month is over from the second dose what we received, they should give booster dose. That is what is being said, but it is not at all confirmed right now. And this booster dose, whenever it will start, again it is going to pose problems, because see, first when we vaccinated all the population, initial trend was different, then the trend was different, and currently the trend is of not taking a vaccine. So it goes on changing with time, with whatever news comes in WhatsApp and newspapers about the vaccination. There are different types of hindrances in all this vaccination drive. Some political parties get involved, they oppose vaccination, they create something in the minds of the people by saying something else. And all this the environment gets disturbed in such a way that the vaccination drive itself is in fact put in a back foot. Currently, there are certain areas in Thane where the vaccination is hardly 60% or 30% also, whereas some places in Thane have covered 100%, maybe 95 to 100%. So this is a difference in between an area of some 15 square kilometers area of PMC. So what can be a picture at large in India, you can just imagine. So basically, vaccination is most important thing, because it is going to prevent you from landing up in a ICU. What is lacking most in India is ICU beds. So ICU beds, if you want to avoid getting occupied or getting overwhelmed, vaccination is the only most important thing which we have to follow. We have to advise our patients that everybody must be vaccinated. In our clinics, we first ask the question whether you are having vaccinated. Both vaccinations, if you have done, then only you can come inside the clinic. Otherwise, we are treating just from the boundary of our clinic. We don't allow the patient to enter the clinic as well, because that forces the patient or make a patient aware that the vaccination is that important. Today, the situation is such that all the population, whosoever is coming to vaccination, is not out of the fear for COVID. It is just because they want to get some tickets of train tickets, or they want to travel abroad, or they want to travel to their native places. That is the reason people are asking for vaccination. That should change, and I believe only the practitioners who are treating the patients, they can make the change by advising their own patients about taking the vaccines. Anything else I want to, I've forgotten to answer?
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Still, the trend is that in mall and maybe theaters have also started. I don't know whether
The corporations are even examining the certificates of the employees being employed in all these stores and malls. But that again, it is well better said than actually being done, because the staff of TMC or any corporation for that matter is very undernumbered, because we cannot go and examine each and every certificate everywhere. Ultimately, the population has to decide what they want. If they want to put themselves in trouble, they should not follow the guidelines. If they are thinking that whatever is being told by government is all rubbish, then only God can save them.
the unfortunate thing is that on WhatsApp, a lot of messages circulated are not proper.
Yes.
And we should create a lot of awareness in common public. As I feel ki general practitioners, they can do a lot of work. Already they have done their best, but still awareness has to be created in, I would say they can, as we have Ganpati Mandals and NGOs, they can have some lectures so that at least we can prevent, as we are awaited for third wave. So Omicron, I would say, is an example that something has come, is dangerous, and you have to take care of yourself. That awareness should be there in common public. So what happens? One of them go to some mall and maybe theater. Sometimes they are not screening properly, then there's a big issue. At least if in theaters also, if they screen ki those who come, they should have at least mask. And very difficult situation in flight also. The picture we see that social distancing is maintained. And when the person is in flight, it becomes really, I would say, amazing thing what's going on. No, it's okay, fine. Whatever things we should get protected, all of us should take care. That's the message, as you said, sir. Thanks a lot. And for all of you, Dr. Nimkar sir, Dr. Pingulkar sir, and Dr. Sadavarte sir, most doctors believe that it will be a large wave. What is your opinion? And everybody want to know what we should do and how we should go further.
Who is the-
Hear me?
Dr. Sancheti sir, that's $1 million question that you have asked, whether there'll be a large next wave, yes or no. Really, like I said, it's $1 million question, but then what we really are not looking at, I would say, is that we cannot really dehyphenate the transmissibility and the severity of the disease. What I mean by that is that, as we know, the data has come from South Africa, which says that this disease is definitely milder than previous variants. But most of the patients reported in the first phase were university students or the younger age group without too many comorbidities, and the risk profile was slightly better. As Dr. Pingulkar sir said, because of the increased transmissibility, even 1% of the population catches this. The sheer numbers in our country will definitely overwhelm the system, and that's what leads to a wave. And whether now this will be a tsunami or a wave or a ripple is up to us. Like you discussed, Dr. Sancheti sir, and like Dr. Pingulkar sir discussed, we have to change really our mindset. Unfortunately, there are right now two radically different thought processes going on. One is those people who are scaremongering, just projecting as if Omicron has come and now it's end of the world, which is absolutely not true. Like it's a milder disease, it can be tackled, it can be managed. We have many more tools at our disposal than we had about 2 years ago. And the other school of thought over there is Omicron is nothing, is just a hype, so-called conspiracy theory mindset. It's just a conspiracy to peddle more drugs and more vaccines. That's also absolutely not true. It's unscientific. So what we really need to do is listen to the experts, not go behind what is the misinformation or disinformation campaign on social media, not really pay much attention to it. And we just, like Dr. Pingulkar sir again and again stress, we must upgrade our guard and not shed it or drop it. We really need to double mask. We need to follow the social distancing norms. We must take our double vaccination seriously. As and when the government opens up the booster doses, we must go for it. And that way, we can say that this may not be a wave in that case, but just a ripple. But surely in next few weeks, I personally believe that the numbers will increase dramatically due to the increasing R0. What do you think, Dr. Pingulkar sir?
Dr. Pingulkar sir, what is your say?
Sir, unmute.
Yeah. Whatever you said is very correct. Currently, what we need to follow is first protect ourselves with whatever possible things. And again, I am saying there are only three things: mask, social distancing, and sanitization. If you avoid touching your nose and mouth with your bare hands, you don't get COVID. That is what we are following for last 2 years, and I have not got it. I might say there are many others who are following this. I am not into ICU management, so I am not using PPE kit as such, but those who are doing it in ICUs and hospitals, they should use PPE kits as well. Whenever they are inside the hospital, while entering, they should be entering in PPE kit, and while exiting, they should be exiting in PPE kit. After exiting from the hospital, they can remove that PPE kit and do whatever they want to do, wherever they want to do, according to the norms of disposal. But all these things you have to follow. That is only going to protect all the healthcare workers, their own lives, and their families. Whatever other things, like some people are asking for the boosters, that we will get whenever it will, because first dose of vaccine also we got quite late, around 6 months later than almost 9 months later than the first infection of COVID in India. So those 9 months we have survived without any vaccination. Today we are having 2 doses of vaccination and some antibodies inside our bloodstream. So we are much safer. Let us see what happens in terms of that booster dose that might come. Most probably, so many people pressing for it, and the vaccination drive for the population is not getting any further. That is what is my belief. It may not be true. Outside our area, we don't know what is happening around in the India. The population number, the numbers of vaccination are slowly increasing. Some 45 crores have got their second vaccination, I think, in India, out of that 1.20. So it is not a very huge number that everything has been covered. We need to cover quite a lot. In Thane, we are seeing there is much less vaccination going on than what is expected. First dose taken is around 12 or 14 lakhs. I think they have taken first dose in Thane, but the second dose, hardly 30% have taken. This needs to step up. This will only step up if each and every doctor asks their patients whether they have taken their second dose. They should force their patients, or they should encourage their patients and their relatives to take that second dose. So this is something which is going to create some better environment to deal with this, if at all the third wave arises. Personally, I don't believe the third wave is going to come, at least in India. I think we are already immunized or infected. That will cover almost 80% population has either got infection or a vaccination. So most probably they are not going to be having serious disease henceforth. And the Omicron, what we say today is Omicron. Some other vaccination, some other virus might come in future. Every 10 days there is a new variant. So maybe there is some other variant. And as people say, towards the end of the pandemic, the severity of the virus or the transmissibility is higher, but the virulence goes decreasing, and that's what ends the pandemic. That is what is said. So let's hope this is the beginning of that period of this pandemic, that this is going to end with this kind of higher infection but with less severity. And if that happens, it is the best blessing in disguise currently, that we might be able to protect ourselves as well as our patients because of, and the virus itself is changing to that type of virus. Like what we say, flu is not a disease nowadays. We don't consider it as a disease. It is just a change of some disease which was very virulent earlier, and currently it is just like a cold and cough, and we say it is just manageable even without medicines. Something like that might happen to this COVID in near future. After 2-3 years, we might say COVID है तो क्या हो गया, 2 दिन का लीव ले लो, आराम करो और जाओ काम पे. That is what is going to happen. That is what is my belief. I may be wrong, but let's hope it happens that way.
Very well said.
Dr.
Definitely.
Sir, what is your take on that? You have managed thousands and thousands of cases in COVID centers, and you've been at the forefront. What do you think, sir, about the next wave?
Hello.
Dr. Rajarathan, please unmute.
Hello.
Dr. Sadavarti, sir.
Yeah. Actually, I was not able to hear. The voice was very less. So can you please repeat?
I said, sir, you have been at the forefront of treating COVID patients. You have managed thousands of cases in BKC and NESCO COVID centers. What is your take on the next wave? Do you think there'll be a large wave due to Omicron in near future?
Yeah. I would like to keep it in this way. See, right now, I totally agree with Dr. Vedas and Dr. Pingulkar sir also that COVID appropriate behavior has to be followed. But still, awareness in the public is not there. It is a personal opinion of mine because talking up to Mumbai, when I travel, I see that in certain areas, nobody is wearing mask also. Social distancing is a definitely very important thing, but people are behaving mask free as if there is no COVID or there is no any virus remaining right now, and they think that as the lockdown is opened, everything is open, so there is no necessity to maintain social distance, wear mask and all this. So still, what I believe is that there should be public awareness, more awareness in the people. That is an important thing. And I'll now come to your question. See, I have worked in intensive care in the first wave as well as second wave. And I have seen all the end stage patients in COVID as well as patients admitted in wards. In my personal experience, working with all those patients and still not getting COVID positive is that I used to wear PPE kit. Yes, that is always there. We need to wear it, but mask is a very important weapon for us, for all of healthcare workers as well as our doctors. Because in my personal experience, I would like to share with you is that when I used to go to COVID rounds in intensive care unit or in wards, I used to wear mask, but during that time or during those days, even I never used to remove my mask for drinking water also. So mask has really helped me out. And when I used to leave my house, that time I used to mask, and when I used to come back, then only I used to remove the mask. So I think mask is very important. PPE kit, yes, when you are working in ICU, but in your clinics also, and as well as when you are in the public or social gatherings also, you should wear the mask. And now the second thing is, as now Dr. Pingulkar sir as well as Dr. Vedas Nimkar sir, they also were discussing about the thing that whether the third wave. Yeah. See, the Omicron virus is highly transmissible, but as we know, it is not that pathogenic or virulent till date, as per the data which is available. But we never know what is going to happen in the future. So the number of cases may increase, but as the symptoms are very mild, we need not have to worry about that. But we should take all the precautions and follow the COVID appropriate behavior. That is the only thing what I feel. And if we do that, I think we can come out of the threat of Omicron, and definitely it might come as a blessing for us in the future.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Sadavarte, in spite of treating so many thousands of patients in critical care in ICU setup, you still never caught COVID due to your good masking habits. So that's really an inspiration for all of us and all the doctors who are listening. I mean, that really sends a very strong message. And like Dr. Pingulkar sir also said, I myself have done the same thing. Since the beginning of the pandemic till today, I have been wearing double mask whenever I'm out of my house, and we have never caught COVID. So that is something which we strongly, all of us, say, Dr. Sancheti sir, you would also agree with it, that we must send this strong message, and we must first start following it ourselves. Like they say that what you preach, you shall practice first. So I humbly request all the doctor friends who are listening in, please don't drop your guard. Please advocate double masking. I know it's not so comfortable. It's not comfortable for us also, but we must advocate it, and we must educate more and more people towards wearing masks and maintaining social distancing. Sancheti sir, over to
Yeah.
you.
So I think for 6 months or maybe a year or so, we have to follow this SMS, as all of you have said: sanitizer, mask, and social distancing. So this is a very good, fair practice. Even for auditorium, we have a auditorium for IMA Pune and a lot of other places. They also have put notice, and they don't permit anyone to enter the auditorium without mask. This is a fair, good practice, and we should follow that. Dr. Nimka sir, for you,
Yes, sir.
now that we have taken current vaccines, about 2 shots, 2 jabs, a lot of people, large population have already taken. In Thane, they say it is 30%. They have to increase their ratio, and that the authority will look after that. More concerned I am whether we need a new vaccine. Already, I think AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, and a lot of companies are coming with newer vaccines. So whether now in Omicron state, whether we require new vaccines, or whether this can be sufficient, or whether these two, as someone said, that it won't be possible because we have, I mean, even if you have immunity, there's a problem. So please enlighten us whether we should have newer vaccine for Omicron or furthermore.
Yeah, I often get that question from most of the doctors. Even right now in the comments box, some of the people are asking the same question, that do our current vaccines work against Omicron? Well, the final chapter in this vaccine saga is yet to be written. The final results from the neutralization assays are expected in next few weeks. But 3 very important preliminary studies have already come in. Unfortunately, world over, Pfizer vaccine is being the most widely used vaccine. We don't have it available in India, but the data has come for that Pfizer vaccine because naturally it's the most widely used one in the Western world. The first study has come from South Africa, where Omicron was first detected. It says that those patients who have taken 2 doses of Pfizer vaccine, the protection against, or the antibody titers rather, against Omicron have fallen by 41 folds. That's 41 times less effective against Omicron compared to previous variants, the reference strain of or the ancestral strain, Wuhan strain as we call it. The similar data has been reported from Germany as well. They have reported that there is a 37-fold or 37 times less protection against Omicron, the symptomatic disease. And the third study is not in agreement with these two. It's come from Karolinska Institute in Sweden. It says there is a 7 times or sevenfold decrease in the protection. But why is it so much of difference? 37 and 41 fold nearly match from two totally different size, different countries, and completely unrelated teams. The reason lies in the technicality. The first two studies, they have used the live virus, live Omicron samples, whereas the Swedish study has used a pseudovirus. So thereby that can perhaps explain. But in nutshell, the answer is yes, the present vaccines do work, but much lesser. There is also one nice data which has come in just 2 days back, day before yesterday, from UK. It has compared AstraZeneca, which is available in our country as Covishield, and also Pfizer vaccines, and how boosters will help against Omicron. The data from UK says that 2 doses of Covishield or AstraZeneca has practically no protection against Omicron symptomatic disease. When we say no protection, we mean by that is no protection against symptomatic disease. We might get infected, but whether we will end up with severe disease or hospitalizations or death, that is not yet clear, because these early preliminary tests, they just detect the antibody titers, but we also have something called T cells, which are rapidly deployed, the cytotoxic cells, and also the memory B cells, which when exposed, we are exposed to the infection again, they rapidly start secreting antibodies. So it is very difficult to measure the response of T cells and B cells. So like we say, these vaccines may be suboptimal. They may not be as efficient. However, they will still give us some amount of protection. And that's exactly the wording used by WHO. I'm quoting them verbatim. WHO says that there'll be some protection offered by the current generation vaccines still against Omicron. The same UK study also says that the Pfizer vaccine, 2 doses, gives around 22.5% protection against symptomatic disease. That's a huge drop from the figures of 90 plus for the previous variant. So less optimal. And also they have compared giving boosters, a third dose booster of a Pfizer vaccine, to both those who have received 2 Covishields or 2 Pfizers before. And here lies the magic number. Those who have taken 2 doses of Covishield and given 1/3 booster of Pfizer, the protection from almost nil rises to 71%. So a fairly good amount of protection. And those who have received 2 Pfizer doses and get a third Pfizer booster, their protection figures rise to 76%. So not too much of difference there between 71 and 76. So that is perhaps one of the early indicators that Omicron may require boosters. And the other part of your question was, do we need really new vaccines? Again, the answer to that, it's too premature to say right now. Most of the manufacturers, AstraZeneca, Pfizer, Moderna, Novavax, almost everyone, Johnson and Johnson, they have been working on this booster specifically tailored against the Omicron variant. In next few months, we will come to know. Even ICMR has launched a study as of yesterday. They have announced that in India, they are launching a study whether Indian vaccines, our backbones of our vaccination programs, Covishield and Covaxin, will they hold up against Omicron? The results of this study will be out in few weeks' time, and then we can have an update on that. But to summarize it in nutshell, we must go for our vaccination. Those who have completed their 2 doses, like most of us, the healthcare workers, or even almost about 50% of Indian population has had 2 jabs. So those who are still holding out of fear or whatever reasons, I request all of our doctor friends to encourage them to go and get their double vaccination primary series. And then we must not at any cost or under any circumstances, I strongly do not advocate taking a booster off label or unofficially. That's not the way to go. We can wait. We still do have some amount of protection, and I'm sure government is taking a very balanced decision on that, because we have here two very opposing forces in play. We have to finish the primary series 2-dose vaccination for a large population. It's very easy to say that why do we not give boosters quickly in a country like ours, where the population is 1.3 billion, out of which almost zero 0.9 billion, or around 90 crore, are adults who are right now eligible for vaccination. It's a Herculean task. It's not easy. It's easy said than done. So we must cooperate, and I'm sure a balanced decision is expected very soon. And the boosters is definitely the way to go. We need to have boosters, but we must take them officially when they are available. Also, the mRNA vaccines are best considered for boosters, but unfortunately, they are not yet available in our country. But there are certain more options opening up. We will not talk about it today. That's not today's topic, and we'll have an update on that later once the official booster policy is in place. Dr. Sancheti, sir?
Yeah, if we, as you say, go for boosters, about 90 crore adult will need to be vaccinated. So what are the challenges? So it is a tough task and really challenging, because a lot of people are not taken first dose also. So how can we go for booster dose, as you say?
Dr. Pingulkar will be best suited to answer that, I believe, because he has been
Dr.
at the
Pingulkar,
forefront of these
yeah.
things.
So Pingulkar,
Dr.
sir.
Pingulkar, sir, like we know, the boosters are going to be the future. I mean, we perhaps have to take fourth dose also. So, large number of adults in India, what really challenges is it going to pose? How? Because you have first-handedly faced all the challenges in giving the primary series. So, what challenges do we expect in the booster program? So, please unmute yourself, sir.
What you say is very correct. The challenges are too many. Giving an injection is not at all a challenge for the health system in India. But fetching the beneficiaries towards that vaccination center, making them stand in a queue, and as you are aware, before this last 2 years, almost, at least in the city area, or almost 90% of the population was not interested in going towards a government facility for taking any injection. And now everybody has to go to the government facility. Very few can afford to go to the private facilities and take the vaccinations. Many of those who have taken private vaccinations, they are taking their second vaccinations in government facilities. Initially, there were so many pressures from the politicians, the Nagar Sevaks, ministers, the officials, the relatives, your friends. They used to just say, if you have a quota of some, say, 200 vaccinations, everybody wanted 2 or 3 vaccinations. Even 10 persons asked for a favor of 5 vaccines. मेरे भाई को दे दो, मेरे बच्चे को दे दो, ऐसा कुछ करके. That 40 or 50 vaccinations, if you could give out of turn to somebody else, that means those 40 or 50 eligible other candidates standing in queue, they are deprived of those vaccines. So there was always a kind of chaos outside all vaccination centers. Some people who did not have any pull or any influence, they used to think this is going on because of some influence. All those who are getting the vaccines, that is because of some influence. And at the end of the vaccination session, when around 100, 150 people were not, they came to know that they are not going to get vaccinated on that very day in that vaccination center, they used to start creating chaos. Almost, I have never seen in my life for vaccination center calling a police team for controlling the population, for not being able to take that vaccine. And that situation was there for at least 4 to 5 months. After that, all those vaccinees who were interested in taking vaccination, they got their jobs. And after that came the stage when you were supposed to ask people or motivate people to come ahead and take vaccine. That part of the population who were not that keen, or they were worried about taking vaccination, or they were driven by some other forces for not taking the vaccination. Some communities were told it is going to hamper your reproductive abilities. Some people said it is going to cause problems in your heart. Some people said there n number of theories came up via WhatsApp and whatnot. So that time, to promote vaccination in area was a very, very big challenge for us. There were vaccine doses available, 300 vaccine doses available, but we could not get 100 people to take vaccine. 20 vials we used to take back. And we've never had imagined that such a situation will arise in future when we started vaccination drive at the first go. First 5 days, first 5 months almost, there was fighting for vaccination. And after that, even till today, now we are inviting people by calling on phones that please come and take vaccination. We need to finish vaccination. We have to cover all the population for vaccination. So this is a change which we have seen till now. Now, after this booster dose, what is going to happen, even we don't know. Again, those people who are really interested in vaccination, they might queue up for booster. For some period of time, 2 to 3 months, there will be again the queues and all that maramari will start again. But we are not sure now which boosters are going to be available, whether private boosters are going to be available in private hospitals, which companies are going to come up. I think Dr. Vedas and some people from Serum Institute and all, they are also planning to have one more good session to be published about this booster vaccination in future. So that time we will discuss all that. But currently, yes, vaccination, all the vaccination programs all over India, all the government facilities, they are facing problems. Initially, we were not getting vaccines from central government to state government, from state government to Thana, we were not getting enough stocks. Today, the situation is like we have enough stocks. We can give triple vaccination. Currently, in a day, we gave around 12,000 vaccines in a day at Mumra in one day. So that is the capacity we have. But currently, what is lacking is the will of the population to take that vaccination. And that only has to be increased by all the healthcare workers and healthcare doctors by promoting this vaccination amongst their own patients. They should promote it maybe through WhatsApp or personal talks or whatever. And they should promote this vaccination is the most important after masking, sanitization, and social distancing.
Very well said, sir. It is, I would say, we should feel proud of our doctors, nursing staff, and the social workers and the software people, because registering, as you said,
Yes.
it was really difficult, and there was chaos also, and we had to plead also for and use our good, I would say, rapport also for getting vaccination to our dear ones, to our doctor fraternity, and all of our, I would say, medical workers. So it was really creditable, a huge thing, and a mammoth task was taken, and at least I feel about 80% maybe have been vaccinated. Some are yet to be vaccinated. you can go for that.
I just forgot to say one thing. The last drive which was taken by the state government, that was Har Ghar Dastak drive. Almost each and every house was visited by the healthcare workers for finding out who has not taken a vaccine. They were provided an option to get vaccinated just outside their house in the same building or the same locality on the same day. And that has almost covered first dose vaccination to almost more than 90-95% in Thane at least. I think that is the same situation even in Mumbai. First dose has been covered, but second dose now again, more probably government will have to take the same kind of drive to cover the second dose. Yesterday, I was just going through my list of vaccinations at my health center. The last 84 days ago session I just opened, it was totally second dose session. So there was not a single patient of first dose on that day, 84 days ago. So yesterday, I did not have any one second dose from my own center. Still, I could cover 150 doses. We really don't know where these people are coming from. They are not from the same locality. Wherever people are getting doses, they are taking it. So those who are interested in taking vaccination, they find all ways to take that vaccination. The problem is with those who are hesitant in taking vaccination. Those people we have to motivate and take that, ask them to take those second doses. 50%, around 50% people have not taken their second doses. In spite of taking first dose, 84 days are over and still they have not turned up for taking second dose. Those people need to be motivated.
It is a really difficult task. I do remember our WHO consultant, Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Naruda sir used to say also, used to go in remote areas for a polio vaccination campaign. And we actually know after this massive vaccination for COVID, it is really, I would say, very, very difficult task, but we are doing it at our best. Thanks to all those who have done and led their lives also in the COVID atmosphere. We should give tribute for our doctor fraternity too. Thank you. Next question. Recently, 2 new effective oral drugs were announced for COVID vaccination and were expected to be available in India. Will they work on Omicron? 2 new effective oral drugs. Dr.
Yeah, we have, after all these dark clouds of COVID and now Omicron, we really had some silver lining to the clouds in the form of these 2 highly effective oral drugs which were recently announced. One is molnupiravir and the other one is PF 0732-1332 with ritonavir from Pfizer, which is trade name of Paxlovid. Doesn't have a generic name as yet, still on that technical name of PF 0732. So these 2 drugs are have been shown in phase 3 trials to be highly efficacious. Molnupiravir is basically a drug which acts as a tautomer. It is a inhibitor of viral replication. So it does not really have it's not dependent which variant of virus is spreading, because viral replication is not dependent upon its S gene or its spike protein. What helps in viral replication are the non-structural proteins. So this drug will very much work against Omicron or even any future variants that may emerge. Same is the case with this Paxlovid or the Pfizer drug. It's a protease inhibitor. Protease is an enzyme which is required in the replication of viruses. So again, it is not dependent upon the spike protein or the receptor binding domain. So these are 2 totally different things. When we have a new variant, what we mean by a variant is the virus of which the receptor binding domain on the spike protein has been mutated structurally due to the genetic mutations, and it just causes causes the immune escape phenomenon for the antibodies, be it naturally generated due to previous infection or vaccine induced, but it does not have any effect on the drugs or the chemical drugs that we invent against this particular disease. So yes, both these drugs are expected to hold very well against not just Omicron, but even the future variants. Especially the Pfizer drug seems to be more promising in the studies. As per the latest phase 3 data, it is found to be almost 79% efficacious against mild to moderate disease. So 79% is a very big number. And this Pfizer drug is not yet US FDA approved, not approved by, for that matter, any of the drug regulators anywhere in the world. But in next few months, we expect that by maybe February, it will get authorized, and 21 of the Indian hospitals were also part of this particular study. So it is going to be also available in India, and that could be a real game changer. Because once these drugs are available, these are easy to take twice a day pills for 5 days, and with the affordability or accessibility programs that companies launch, they'll be fairly affordable in our country. And COVID would, once they are launched, COVID would perhaps end up being more of at-home management disease rather than hospitalizations, because if these drugs are taken within first a few days, especially 3 to 5 days of the initiation of symptoms or diagnosis, they are very, very efficacious, and they improve the outcomes, disease outcomes. The disease severity is lesser, and the recovery time is also very, very less. Most of the patients can be managed at home. They can take those pills by themselves, and it will certainly reduce the huge burden that may come on the healthcare system. So we need not worry about Omicron as far as these drugs are concerned.
Thank you, sir. Next, Dr. Pingulkar, sir. With wide use of monoclonal antibody therapy, disease is severely reduced and recovery time a bit shorter. Is this a threat or blessing in disguise? Monoclonal antibody.
I would put it this way: monoclonal antibodies is an excellent option available today. Only problem is the cost. The cost is exorbitant. I might tell you, last week or 2 weeks ago, my family members were admitted for COVID. They were admitted fairly in time. 5th day they were admitted, and they got this monoclonal antibody. 2nd day, they were all symptom free. So that kind of benefit we get if we give this monoclonal antibody. The cost was very high, 1,15,000 for 2 vials, and it was given 1 vial for each patient was given. But if you are having good cover, good insurance cover, that is okay. First 5 days, if you could get first shot, it really helps the patient. It is just like giving an externally, you are providing antibodies to the patient, so that disease is taken care of. It doesn't progress henceforth. So the disease, the problem is with monetary availability of funds for all the patients. In India, majority of the patients are short of funds. The problem is with that 1,15,000. Even if there is one patient, you have to purchase those 2 vials, and 1 vial goes waste. So 1,15,000 for one patient. No patient in my private has opted for taking monoclonal antibodies on the 3rd day or 4th day. 1,15,000 for any disease on the 3rd day is unacceptable for an Indian patient. That is the only hitch in giving these monoclonal antibodies. For all the doctors who understand the benefits, they will definitely take it. For their families, they will give it. But those patients who are really skeptical about all the intentions of medical practitioners nowadays because of the all the chaos being spread by WhatsApp University, they will always suspect 1,15,000 का इंजेक्शन दे रहा है मतलब कुछ तो लफड़ा है. So that is the first thing comes to their mind. That is the problem in India. Otherwise, monoclonal antibodies, it really works wonders. I have heard it from quite a few of my friends as well. They have given it to their friends, their relatives. Few patients have also taken it, and everybody has got benefits out of it. If at all any doctor gets infected, he should definitely go for monoclonal antibodies as early as possible. They say it should be given in first 6 days as far as possible, but they can give till 10th day of the infection, after the infection. So from the first symptom, 10th day, you can give it, but as early as possible, if you give within first 5 or 6 days, it gives maximum benefit. So if you are vesting or if you are investing 1,15,000 or 1,20,000, you should give it in time, and rather than giving it late, waiting for it, ठीक होने तक रुकने का, नहीं हुआ इसके बाद में देने का, like tocilizumab, what we do. We should not wait for that time. Once you get, basically basic problem in India is you don't like getting tested. So that mindset we have to change in all the patients. Whenever there is a possibility that it could be a COVID, just like a fever, cough, cold, you should get that antigen testing done. Without antigen testing positive, hospitals, I think they are not able to give even monoclonal antibodies. So if you have a positive report in your hand, then they are ready to give it. Otherwise, there are certain things being done. They are manipulating some things and they are giving monoclonal antibodies. Somehow, at some hospitals, the guidelines are even not clear whether CT scan positive should get monoclonal antibodies if they don't have positive reports. Nobody is sure as on today. So everybody waits for that positive report. RT-PCR positive report nahi hai, we cannot give. That is what they say. All these guidelines are there. The restrictions are because of certain things going on which should not have been practiced in medical practitioners. And government wants to curb that unwarranted use of such drugs which are really life-saving. That is why they have put these restrictions in those guidelines, that if the patient is not detected positive officially or there is no proof of being positive, you should not give it. That is what they have said in the guidelines. So there are many points of debate, but as on today, people are giving monoclonal antibodies. In some hospitals, they are giving left, right, and center. And I learned from yesterday while discussing with one of my friends at one hospital in Bombay, they are saying there is nothing like COVID. We just give monoclonal antibodies and within 2 days, patient is okay. So that is the way it works. Only problem is money, cost of monoclonal antibodies.
Thank you
Dr.
very much.
Siddhavarthi sir, you have worked in critical care. You have been working in critical care. What is your experience with this monoclonal antibodies? And if you could summarize this.
Actually, in intensive care, there is no role of monoclonal antibodies because the guidelines say that monoclonal antibodies should be given when the patient is maintaining oxygen at room air. The patient is very much stable, but the report is positive. And right now, as Pingulkar sir said, that up to 6 days that can be given. But now we are giving up to 10th day also. But it is a really wonderful drug. And even I have used in my multiple myeloma patients also, which were admitted in Kohinoor Hospital. So it really helped in even immunocompromised patients or who are on immunosuppressive drugs for a long time, who are senior citizens, even more than 70 years. Definitely, as you give the injection today, within 1 or 2 days, you will see that the patient is symptom free. But intensive care, no, I have not used in intensive care. I have used in the wards only because it was not indicated in intensive care.
Right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And can we go for some questions? There are some questions also. Someone has asked, when you have enough doses, why not to have booster that to pay those who are willing for third dose? Someone has asked.
Like we discussed, as of today, there is no official announcement about boosters from the government of India, and all of us, and I, on behalf of the entire panel, advise this. We strongly advise you that please do not fall for the hype or the all the chaos created by people. Please do not go for unofficial or off the label booster doses. The reasons are twofold. One is that it's not the very ethical thing to do when especially more than 50% population is still deprived of the vaccines. Secondly, if I have to give a scientific answer to your question, it would be that it is better to worthwhile to wait for a few more weeks, because there are many more newer or second generation vaccines which are in the pipeline, which are going to be available practically on the market in next few weeks. Like I said, once the official booster policy is announced, we are planning an update on the same. There we will discuss it in more details, but they are known to be better vaccines for booster. They increase your antibody titers as well as T cell responses many fold more than the current generation vaccines. So therefore, it is worth to wait for the official policy to come, as well as to have the better shot on market. Anything else, sir? Any more questions?
Does the regular RT-PCR fail to diagnose Omicron? Does the regular RT-PCR fail to diagnose Omicron?
Yeah, like I discussed that before in this question, that a regular RT-PCR usually targets 3 genes, that's ORF1, S gene, and N gene. If Omicron, the original variant, or now it is known as BA.1, if it's a BA.1 or the original Omicron strain, it has the S gene dropout or S gene deletion phenomenon, which can be picked up on a regular RT-PCR. But now there is an emergence of a substrain of Omicron, which is known as a stealth variant in layman's language, or BA.2, that does not have this S gene phenomenon. So if somebody is infected with this variant, stealth variant, it will not be detected in RT-PCR. Anyways, RT-PCR is not for detection of Omicron. It just tells you it is to detect the SARS-CoV-2 or the COVID virus. It just tells whether this patient is SARS-CoV-2 or COVID positive or not. If you really need to find out that which variant it is, you have to go for genomic sequencing, which is not of any clinical significance, because clinically, whether it is Delta, whether it is Omicron, whether it is Alpha or Beta, treatment remains the same. So it is more of a research tool, or from the epidemiological point of view, it's a tool, and it's important to identify which variant is spreading. But in clinical practice, for clinicians, that is of no use. So Omicron is very much identified. I mean, if somebody is infected with Omicron, it is not so that RT-PCR will show that the patient is COVID negative. That's not true. It will very much label it as COVID positive with just the deletion of S gene or the S gene dropout phenomenon.
Thank you, sir. And this one new, just like RT-PCR, technique from maybe about ICMR has, I think, given green signal to have this testing facility at airport. Which is this? Testing facility by Abbott. Abbott has come out with just like RT-PCR, rapid test. Can you just elaborate if you are aware from this thing, ICMR?
There are many rapid tests which are available, so-called lateral flow tests. They do not use PCR technique, but they basically detect the antigens. Antigen testing is a secondary way of testing. It's a rapid test. It's for quicker results, just in matter of few minutes, compared to RT-PCR taking few hours or up to a day, 24 hours at the if there is too much of load in the lab. So as far as Omicron is concerned, it is not yet clear whether this lateral flow tests, some of them, it depends from company to company. I'm not particularly aware about this Abbott kit, but some companies' kits, they do detect, whereas some may not be able to pick it up. So the data is not yet clear, especially pertaining to Omicron. Dr. Pingulkar, would you like to add something to that if you can, or Dr. Sadavarte, if you want to add something?
I'm not aware of anything like that from Abbott.
Dr. Sadavarte?
Only one thing I might like to add for the knowledge of all the audience. If you have any patient who's positive after taking 2 vaccinations, or if you have a patient who's positive again after getting once COVID disease, then you can send that patient sample or patient to, in Thane, you can send it to Kalwa Hospital for genomic sequencing. It is just for the academic interest or just to pick up which strain is available in circulation in Thane. That is the only benefit. And if at all you want to know about it, then you can send that patient to Kalwa Hospital, where Dr. Milind Dubadi is looking after that lab.
There is a question just come in. What should be the ideal time to take booster after the second dose? Well, ma'am, I believe the answer to your question would be ideally booster dose should be taken minimum 6 months after completing the primary series or first 2 doses, 5 to 6 months. From country to country, the guidelines differ. Most of the countries are now advocating, due to the emergence of a new variant in the form of Omicron, which is rapidly spreading. They have cut it short to 5 months after second dose. That should be ideally between 5 to 6 months would be an ideal period, but there is no upper limit to it. Like most of the people are anxious that healthcare workers especially, it's been over 6 months for all of us after taking 2 doses. So and we will be getting, let's assume theoretically that after say couple of months we get the booster, so that will be more than 8 or 10 months. So that's perfectly fine. You can take this booster dose anytime after 5 to 6 months, and it does work. Again, a second part to that would be some of the special populations, like we say, that is cancer patients or having hematological malignancies, or patients who are WHO stage 4 HIV disease, or organ transplant recipients. These are the patients who require booster at an earlier stage. It is not really correct to call it booster, but technically we should call it a third dose in the primary series part, because these are the patients who have impaired immune systems, so their immune system does not generate enough antibodies and cellular responses. So booster is not the right word, but these are the patients who require require 3 doses instead of 2 doses for all of us. So for them, yes, it should be earlier. But again, the decision on that has not yet been taken at the government level, and it is expected very soon. So once that is authorized, they can be rapidly vaccinated. But that number is very small compared to the entire population. But they can certainly be prioritized, and they should be given the third dose with a priority. Uh, any more questions, Sancheti sir?
There's one amazing question. How to maintain mental health while doing huge target of vaccination?
Well,
That's-
I
that's-
believe that we can perhaps next time that's a very valid question, because all this 2 years we have been bombarded with only negative news. We just hear about COVID, so many people dying, youngsters dying, older people dying. It has taken tremendous mental toll on not just general population but even doctors. I'm sure Dr. Rajarathan Sadavarte would agree, sir. If you remember day in and day out your days in ICU, I'm sure it is depressing for even the doctors, in the hospital, and especially to see the patients die. So, and again, vaccination also is there is an apprehension about vaccination in many people. There are many people who are scared for injections, or pricking, intramuscular injections. Also, there is this sort of a nagging feeling or a mental burden that, in the beginning, people were thinking, okay, I just have to take 2 shots and then I'm protected for life. I've been saying this in all the programs that I have been conducting so far, that we have to be mentally prepared that boosters is going to be an annual ritual for foreseeable future. Most probably not even annual but biannual. Every 6 months we may have to take boosters. We have to be mentally prepared for it. As far as the anxiety for injections is concerned, there are newer options which are coming up. There are nasal vaccines which are in pipeline, so that takes away the anxiety of pricking. Also, maybe oral vaccines may come up. One of the pioneer vaccines from our country, India, the DNA vaccine Zycov-D from Zydus Cadila, it is using a novel jet technology whereby it is not injecting the vaccine, but through a high velocity jet, painlessly depositing it into the dermis. So that's also one way of giving it. Oral vaccines may come up after a year or so. So that takes away a certain part. As far as why to take more vaccine part is concerned, that's something we have to adjust to. I'm sure in some of the next programs that we do, we might take on board one of the leading psychiatrists who can help us cope up with this better. In my COVID conclave also, I had taken on, we had a beautiful talk from one of the renowned psychiatrists, Dr. Harish Shetty from Mumbai, who had explained that how do we cope up with all the stress. So that's a very valid thing. I mean, I fully agree with whoever has asked that question, that yes, it is taking mental toll of all of us.
Thank you, sir. I would say a brilliant academic session. And may I request Dr. Sadavarte, sir?
Dr. Sadavarte, sir, if you could summarize quickly, and if you could tell us that finally, with all the discussion vast 1.5 hour we have been having, what's your opinion on Omicron? Is it really a huge threat, or it's a blessing in disguise?
Hello.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yeah. So again, coming to the same point of Omicron, see, the transmissibility is very high, but the pathogenicity or virulence is again less till today what we have data. So again, I would like to keep it in this way only, that to follow the COVID appropriate behavior in the general population as well as the health workers, and to follow all the measures like masking, which I already said, that is the only important thing. and to follow all guidelines which are given by the government for the treatment of COVID patients, as well as which are for now same guidelines for Omicron patients also. And not to get panic with this Omicron, and not to make a havoc on this, but instead of that, we should convey a proper message in the society that following the COVID appropriate behavior is better than making a panic. And if the patient gets positive also, not to get worried and get treatment if it is required at home, in home isolation. And till date, I believe in India, no hospitalization, or in at least in Mumbai, I would have. If we take all the appropriate measures, I don't think it will be very difficult for us to face the situation in future.
Thank
So
you,
we have
sir.
to be-
And especially you sharing that little secret of yours that in spite of treating so many thousand patients, how did you manage to not get COVID positive yourself? That was really an inspiration, and that really sends out a very loud message about double masking. So thank you so much for sharing that secret of yours with us. So Dr. Rajarathan has shared his Raj with us, and I'm thankful to him for agreeing to come here today. On behalf of the entire panel, Dr. Pingulkar sir, myself, and Dr. Sancheti sir, thank you so much, Dr. Rajarathan Sadavarte, to agree to preside on this session as a chairperson on such a short notice. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Sancheti sir.
I think I should request Dipenji for vote of thanks. Is it okay now? Should we conclude?
Yes. I think it's almost 12. It was a good session. Good session, sir. Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Pingulkar sir, Vedas sir, and Dr. Raj sir for accepting our invitation. And it was a wonderful session, sir. Sir, as rightly you said in the between that this needs to be given awareness for the general public as well. So, sir, I would suggest let's have one session with for general public as well. We can share your experience, share with general public awareness, some basic program that will be also help to general public as well. It was
Sure.
very well. Your experience has been shared with the doctors and delegates, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sure, Dipen Mehta sir. We would definitely love to be part of any public awareness programs. And again, on behalf of the entire panel, I would like to thank this DIGIShield team, especially Mr. Dipen Mehta and our technical person Piyush, who have past not for just this program, but past 2 years I've been seeing they have been relentlessly helping every doctor reach out to his patients. They have been helping doctors connect. They have been helping us with academic programs and in disseminating the current information on COVID and various other topics. Thank you so much, Team DigiShield, for providing us with this wonderful opportunity to share our thoughts and experiences with all our doctor friends. Thank you, Dipenji.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Have a good day, sir.
Good day, good day.
A big thank you to all.
Thank you.
I can see there are many more than 100 people online still, even now after the vote of thanks also more than 70-80 doctors are there online. Big heartfelt thank you to all of you. We welcome your feedback and any questions and any topics you would want to be covered. Please do get in touch with all of us, the panelists, and we'll be very glad to incorporate your suggestions and include your questions in all the future programs as well. Thank you so much. You make it a success.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vedas sir, Dr. Pingulkar sir, and Dr. Sadavarte sir, and the team of DigiShield. And we will be connected henceforth also for all the knowledgeable sessions in future. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
day.
Good day. Bye.
Have a good day, sir.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Bye.